Your bladder is not the problem. Your body's timing system is broken. And once you understand that difference, everything changes. Here is something your doctor has almost certainly never told you. Your bladder has its own internal clock, a biological rhythm completely separate from your brain that tells it when to hold and when to let go. When that clock gets disrupted, and in most adults over 50, it does. No pill, no supplement, and no surgery can fix what is happening because you are not treating the cause. You are silencing the alarm. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to reset that clock, and you can start tonight. I am Dr. Aries Smith. Before we go any further, if this is your first time on this channel, subscribe right now and tap the bell. This channel exists to give you what your doctor does not have time to explain in a 12-minute appointment. Every video on this channel is built on peer-reviewed science. No advertising, not supplement sales, just the truth. Now, let us get into it. Section 1. The alarm versus the fire. Why everything you have tried has failed. Let me ask you a simple question. How long have you been fighting your bladder? Maybe you cut off all fluids by 6:30 in the evening. Maybe you tried bladder supplements from the pharmacy shelf or prescription pills that left you dizzy, dry-mouthed, and still stumbling to the bathroom at 3 in the morning. If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to understand one thing very clearly right now. You have been trying to silence the alarm. You have not been finding the fire. Picture a smoke detector in your kitchen. It starts beeping at 2 in the morning, loud, irritating, impossible to ignore. What do? You could rip the batteries out. Problem solved. Silence. Or you could walk into the kitchen and find out that the stove was left on. Your bladder is the smoke detector. Every time it wakes you up, it is sending a signal about something happening elsewhere in your body. In the majority of cases of nighttime urination in adults over 50, the bladder itself is completely healthy. It is doing exactly what a healthy bladder should do. It is emptying what gets put into it. The problem is what is filling it while you sleep. Why it is happening at midnight instead of midday, and why your body's internal timing system has stopped protecting your sleep. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you one direct question. How many times are you getting up at night right now? Write your number in the comments below. 1, 2, 3, 4, or more. Just the number. It takes 5 seconds. It tells me exactly which part of this video matters most to you. Section 2, the clock nobody told you about, circadian rhythm, and your bladder. In 2012, a research team published a landmark study in the journal Nature Communications. What they found was genuinely startling. The bladder has its own local circadian clock, a biological timer embedded directly into the muscle wall of the bladder itself. It does not wait for instructions from your brain. It runs independently on its own schedule. In a young, healthy body, this clock runs in perfect synchrony with the master clock in the brain. During daylight hours, the bladder is in high activity mode. At night, the bladder clock shifts into what I call economy mode. It relaxes. It holds more volume. It delays the urgency signal. This is why a healthy person can sleep 7 or 8 hours straight without a single trip to the bathroom. As we age, 2 things happen simultaneously. First, the brain's master clock, a small structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, begins to weaken. Its timing signals become inconsistent. Second, the kidneys begin losing their own circadian rhythm. In a healthy body, the kidneys produce most of their urine during daylight hours. At night, a hormone called vasopressin, also called antidiuretic hormone, acts like a night shift supervisor. It tells the kidneys to slow down, work in economy mode, and reduce output. That is what allows you to sleep through the night. When the brain's master clock weakens, vasopressin production becomes erratic. The kidneys keep running at full capacity while you are lying still in the dark. Here is the detail that surprises most people. Stress hormones, specifically cortisol, directly suppress vasopressin production. Cortisol and vasopressin are biochemical rivals. When cortisol rises, vasopressin falls. And your cortisol does not only spike when you are stressed during the day. In adults over 50 with disrupted sleep, cortisol begins rising earlier in the night cycle, sometimes as early as 2 or 3 in the morning. This early cortisol surge shuts down vasopressin. The kidneys lose their brake signal, and within 30 to 45 minutes, your bladder is full. You wake up and you think it is your bladder's fault. It is not. It is your stress hormone system firing completely out of rhythm. If this is helping you so far, type yes in the comments right now. It only takes 2 seconds, and it lets me know you're still with me because the next 7 signs are even more important. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Section 3. Know when to stop watching and make a phone call. Not every case of nighttime urination is a circadian rhythm problem. Some are signals that need immediate medical evaluation. First, blood in your urine without pain. If you see dark red, pink, or brown urine with no burning and no discomfort, that is one of the earliest signs of bladder cancer or kidney pathology. The combination of painless blood and visible discoloration in adults over 50 is a direct indication for cystoscopy. Do not wait. Do not search online. Call your doctor today. Second, significant unexplained weight loss combined with bone pain in the pelvis or lower back. If those symptoms accompany urinary changes, especially in men over 60, that pattern requires urgent investigation. Third, urinary changes alongside sudden new neurological symptoms. If you develop difficulty controlling your bladder at the same time as leg weakness, numbness, or changes in your ability to walk, that combination points towards spinal cord involvement and requires emergency evaluation. If none of those apply to you, take a breath. The situation is manageable. But the next step is identifying which specific type of nocturia you are dealing with, because the treatment approach for each type is completely different. Section 4. 3 types, 3 different solutions. Which one are you? Type 1 is global polyuria. This means producing too much urine across the full 24 hours. You go frequently during the day and at night, each time the volume is large. Your urine is almost always pale, nearly colorless. The most common causes are excessive fluid intake and uncontrolled type 2 diabetes, where elevated blood glucose acts as its own osmotic diuretic. This type belongs in front of an endocrinologist. The protocol we discussed today is not designed for this type. Type 2 is nocturnal polyuria. This is the most common type in adults over 50. Research, published in the BJU International Journal, estimates side effects between 60 and 70% of older adults presenting with nocturia. Your day is completely normal. You visit the bathroom every 4 or 5 hours. Nothing hurts, nothing burns. But within an hour of lying down, 3, 4, sometimes 5 trips follow. Each time large volume, and in the morning, you cannot explain where it came from. This is nocturnal polyuria. Your kidneys have inverted their schedule. They are running their biggest shift while you are trying to sleep. Type 3 is overactive bladder or small bladder syndrome. The urges are sudden, intense, and urgent. You rush to the bathroom at full speed and almost nothing comes out. 2 minutes later, the same urgent alarm fires again. A normal bladder should comfortably hold 200 to 300 milliliters before triggering urgency. In an overactive bladder, that alarm fires at 50 millit. This happens with benign prostatic enlargement in men, overactive bladder syndrome in women, chronic low-grade bladder inflammation, and sometimes from a bloated colon pressing on the bladder from outside, large volume, day and night, global polyuria, fine during the day, flooding at night, nocturnal polyuria, frequent, urgent, tiny output, overactive bladder. Quick pause right here. Tell me in the comments. Type 2 or type 3? Which pattern matches your experience? 2 words that tells me what this community needs most from this channel. Section 5. Margaret's case. The hidden connection nobody made. Margaret Kamedomi having already seen 2 specialists. Her urologist found nothing structurally wrong. Her gynecologist attributed everything to postmenopausal changes. She had been getting up 4 times per night for 18 consecutive months. She had eliminated fluids after 5 in the afternoon, stopped coffee entirely, and tried multiple bladder supplements. None of it worked. When she sat across from me, the first thing I asked was not about her bladder. I asked about her sleep, specifically whether she lay awake in the early morning hours, even on her better nights. Her expression changed when I asked that. Yes, she said. She would lie awake from around 3 or 3:30 until almost 5, staring at the ceiling, mind running, heart rate slightly elevated. She had assumed this was normal aging. Then he asked about her evenings. Was she watching news programs before bed? Was she reviewing finances or managing family concerns in the 2 hours before sleep? Yes, she said, and yes. Then he asked her to do something unusual. He asked her to press her thumb firmly against her shin bone just above the ankle and hold it for 10 seconds. She did. There was a small but definite pit, a dent that took several seconds to fill back in. 2 things were happening simultaneously. First, mild fluid accumulation in her legs, building. throughout the day and returning to her bloodstream at night. Second, a chronically dysregulated cortisol pattern driven by 18 months off fragmented sleep and evening mental activation. Her cortisol was surging too early in the night cycle, shutting down vasopressin production exactly when her kidneys most needed to slow down. And the fluid from her legs was simultaneously triggering an emergency hormonal signal that forced her kidneys into accelerated filtration mode. Her bladder was not sick. Her timing system was broken, and every specialist she had visited had been treating the smoke detector. What I told her at that appointment surprised her. I said, "Margaret, the solution starts 2 hours before you go to bed. Not with the bathroom, not with fluids, not with medication, with your nervous system." Section 6, the chemistry of nighttime flooding. What is actually filling your bladder? Your body runs on a daily hormonal cycle. In a healthy rhythm, cortisol peaks close to waking and drops steadily through the afternoon. By evening, it reaches its lowest point of the day. That low point is critical. It clears the way for vasopressin to take over and apply the brake to your kidneys overnight. In adults over 50 with fragmented sleep, this rhythm becomes distorted. Evening cortisol does not drop far enough. Vasopressin is suppressed during the exact hours it should be most active. Your kidneys lose their nighttime break. At the same time, a second mechanism often operates in parallel. In people with venous insufficiency, where the valves in the leg veins have weakened, fluid accumulates quietly in the soft tissue of the lower legs throughout the day. 1:1 and 1:2 can accumulate without visible swelling. The only sign may be a slight groove left by a sock elastic. When you lie down at night, gravity reverses. That stored fluid is rapidly reabsorbed into the bloodstream. The heart detects the sudden rise in circulating blood volume and releases a hormone called atrial natriuretic peptide. This hormone sends an emergency signal to the kidneys. Dump the excess fluid immediately. Your bladder fills within an hour. You wake up in someone like Margaret and very possibly in you. Both mechanisms run at the same time. Cortisol is blocking the kidney's brake signal. Leg fluid is triggering emergency kidney output. Your bladder simply cannot hold against both forces. Sleep deprivation itself, independent of cortisol, also suppresses vasopressin release. Published research in sleep medicine literature confirms that fragmented and insufficient sleep directly impairs the hormonal signals, regulating overnight kidney output. This creates a self-tightening cycle. Nocturia fragment sleep. Fragmented sleep worsens vasopressin suppression, and worsened suppression makes no more severe the following night. Breaking this cycle requires targeting the timing system, not the bladder. Section 7, what you eat after 5 disruptors and restorers. Hidden sodium is the most significant dietary driver of nighttime kidney overload. 80% of the sodium in the average adult's diet does not come from a salt shaker. It comes from processed foods, canned soups, cheese, cured meats, packaged sauces, bread, condiments. When you eat a sodium-rich dinner, your body retains water short-term to dilute the concentration in your blood. But hours later, as your kidneys attempt to excrete that sodium load, they run significant fluid volume through themselves to carry it out. There is a predictable surge of urine production starting around midnight. You did not drink that extra fluid. You ate at 7 in the evening. Evening simple carbohydrates create a second problem. A rapid glucose spike triggers an insulin burst. Then 2 to 3 hours later, when blood glucose drops sharply, the kidneys reverse course and begin excreting the retained fluid, hitting at the exact moment you are in your deepest sleep. If you have any degree of insulin resistance, elevated blood glucose acts as its own diuretic, pulling water from your cells into the urine throughout the night. Alcohol is a direct, powerful suppressor of vasopressin. Even one evening drink partially blocks the hormone that tells your kidneys to slow down overnight. The sedative effect may mask the first urge to void. The bladder fills past a comfortable volume and eventually wakes you with an urgent, uncomfortable alarm. Now, what actively helps? Magnesium is the most underused nutrient in bladder health. It supports smooth muscle relaxation, including the Druser muscle, the muscle wall of the bladder. When magnesium levels are adequate, the bladder stretches more comfortably before triggering urgency. Magnesium also supports deeper slow-wave sleep and helps regulate the cortisol system. Food sources include raw pumpkin seeds, almonds, dark leafy greens, and legumes. Raw pumpkin seeds deserve their own mention. Not roasted, not salted, but raw and green. 30 grams daily. They provide magnesium and zinc in highly bioavailable form alongside plant compounds called phytosterols that support the pelvic floor and prostate tissue in men. A clinical study published in the Journal of Traditional and Complementary Medicine in 2014 found that pumpkin seed extract significantly improved overactive bladder symptoms in both men and women. Unsweetened cranberry, the actual berry or a standardized extract, not sugar-loaded juice, contains compounds called proanthocyanidins that prevent bacteria from adhering to the bladder wall. Many adults over 50 carry a low-grade chronic bacterial presence in the bladder that never becomes a clinical infection, but chronically irritates bladder nerve endings, making the bladder hypersensitive so that small volumes trigger early alarms. Systematic reviews, including research published in the Cochrane database, support the proanthocyanide mechanism for reducing this chronic background irritation. Dietary fiber completes the picture. A chronically constipated colon presses directly against the bladder. A bloated colon compresses the bladder from outside, triggering early urgency signals even when the bladder is barely a quarter full. High-fiber vegetables, bran, and legumes regulate bowel rhythm and give the bladder the physical room it needs to expand properly overnight. Practical evening summary. Remove processed meat, cheese, canned goods, and heavy condiments from your dinner. Eliminate simple sugars after 6. Set alcohol aside entirely. Add raw pumpkin seeds and unsweetened cranberry as daily habits. Eat high-fiber food at lunch and dinner. Now, we reach the core of this entire video, the 3-part evening protocol that I call the bladder clock reset. Margaret followed this consistently. Within 10 days, she was down from 4 nighttime bathroom trips to 1. Within 30 days, she was sleeping through the night. I want that same result for you. Here is exactly how it works. Section 8, the bladder clock reset protocol. Morning, afternoon, evening. Part 1, morning. The fluid front load. The single most impactful structural change you can make to your overnight urine production is shifting when you drink. Most adults consume the bulk of their fluids in the afternoon and evening. This is precisely backwards. The goal is 70% of your total daily fluid intake consumed before 2 in the afternoon. A full glass of water immediately upon waking. A water bottle visible and accessible during the morning hours. Soup or warm herbal tea at lunch. After 2 in the afternoon, reduce intake to small sips on thirstily. After 6 in the evening, minimal intake, only enough to relieve dryness. When your kidneys receive their primary fluid load in the morning and early afternoon, they process and excrete it during daylight hours. By evening, there's dramatically less volume queued for overnight output. One more step for the morning. Remove the salt shaker from your dinner table permanently. Season food only during cooking, not at edible. This single structural change reduces daily sodium intake by 20 to 30% without altering what you eat. Part 2, afternoon magnesium timing. If you choose to add a magnesium supplement, timing matters. Magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate, taken in the mid to late afternoon between 3 and 5, supports smooth muscle relaxation in the bladder wall and promotes deeper slow-wave sleep onset. A typical dose is 300 to 400 mg. Speak with your physician before starting any supplement. Part 3, evening. The 3-step reset. Step 1, leg elevation. 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Lie on your sofa or on the floor. Elevate your legs by resting your heels in the back of the couch or against the wall. The angle should be roughly 45 degrees. Your heels must be above the level of your heart. Stay in this position for 15 to 20 minutes. What is happening during those minutes? Gravity is gently pushing fluid from the tissues of your lower legs back into your bloodstream. Your kidneys receive this volume and begin processing it. Your heart detects their turning fluid and releases the atrial natriuretic peptide signal. Your kidneys shift into active filtration mode. 30 to 40 minutes after you finish, you will feel a genuine urge to urinate. You will go to the bathroom and release 300 to 400 mmol. That is the exact volume that would otherwise have woken you at 2 BOM in the morning. You have deliberately rescheduled that work to an hour when you are awake and ready for it. If you have visible leg swelling by evening, add graduated compression knee-high stockings. Put them on when you return home. Remove them before your evening shower. Step 2, nervous system deactivation. 60 minutes before bed. 60 minutes before bed. Eliminate screens and activities that carry emotional activation, news programs, social media, financial planning, unresolved family. matters. These activities stimulate the sympathetic nervous system and delay the cortisol drop that must happen before sleep. Replace that hour with something genuinely low stimulation, slow reading, soft music, sitting in low, warm light. Then within 5 minutes of lying down, perform this breathing sequence once. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold your breath for 7 counts. Exhale slowly and completely through your mouth for 8 counts. Repeat this 4 times. This breathing pattern activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and recovery state, and initiates the physiological shift that supports vasopressin release. Research published in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience. In 2018, confirmed measurable reductions in cortisol response and activation of the body's calming system through slow extended exhale breathing patterns. Step 3. Pelvic floor calibration. In bed after lights out, once you are lying down ready for sleep, perform 20 to 30 pelvic floor contractions. But 90% of people do this incorrectly. They squeeze the buttocks, tighten the abdomen, and clench the thighs. That accomplishes nothing for the bladder's nerve signals. The correct movement is internal and completely isolated. Imagine pulling your pelvic floor slowly upward, like an elevator rising from the ground floor to the 5th floor. Your abdomen must stay completely soft. Your thighs and buttocks remain fully relaxed. Only the internal pelvic floor muscle group moves. Contract. Hold for 3 seconds. Release slowly. Repeat 20 to 30 times. Systematic reviews published in the Cochrane database confirm that pelvic floor muscle training consistently reduces urgency episodes, nighttime, bathroom visits, and daytime frequency in both men and women. The mechanism is neurological. The trained pelvic floor sends calming signals through the upudendal nerve directly to the bladder's stretch receptors. The bladder stops panicking at small volumes and begins holding more before it signals. Urgency. Here is my final question for you today. Which part of this protocol do you think will be the hardest for you to stick to? The morning fluid shift, the leg elevation before bed, or turning off the news an hour before sleep? Tell me in the comments. Your answer genuinely shapes what I focus on next. Section 9, your 5-step action plan for tonight. Step 1, do the shin test right now. Sit down. Expose your lower leg between the knee and ankle. Press your thumb firmly against the shin bone 4 to 6 and above the ankle. Hold for 10 to 15 seconds. Remove your thumb. If a pit remains and takes more than a few seconds to fill back in, you have hidden fluid in your legs that is flowing through your kidneys every night. Step 2, measure tomorrow. On your next day off, collect and measure your urine output separately for daytime and nighttime. If more than 1/3 of your total daily output occurs at night, you've confirmed nocturnal polyuria. Your kidneys are running their schedule backwards. Step 3, restructure dinner tonight. Remove processed meat, cheese, canned items, and heavy condiments from your evening meal. Choose fresh protein, cooked vegetables, and a moderate portion of whole grains. Move the salt shaker off the dinner table for the rest of the week. Step 4. 1 hour before bed, lie down and elevate your legs for 15 minutes. Set a timer. After you come down, go to the bathroom. You will release a meaningful volume. Go to bed noticeably lighter. Step 5. After lights out, perform 4 cycles of the 4-count inhale, 7-count hold, 8-count exhale breathing sequence. Then do 20 to 30 correct pelvic floor contractions, lifting upward, abdomen completely soft, everything else relaxed. Then sleep. Your bladder has its own circadian clock and it can bear a set. Cortisol is suppressing the hormone that slows your kidneys at night. Leg fluid is accumulating all day and flooding your bladder while you sleep. The bladder clock reset protocol addresses all 3 mechanisms simultaneously. No prescription, no procedure, no significant expense. But it requires one thing above all else: consistency. There is a growing body of clinical research linking chronic nocturia not just to cardiovascular risk, but to measurably accelerated cognitive decline in adults over 60. The mechanism runs directly through the deep sleep disruption we discussed today, and most people who are experiencing this have no idea it is happening. I am covering that connection in full in the next video on this channel. If you got up twice last night, that video is not optional.